Hey, do you ever remember going to camp and when the instructor said go to sleep and you all would be huddled in your sleeping bags whispering stories in the dark? Or how about when there was a power outage at home? Did you ever gather around a single candle and tell stories among your family? I am about to present you with a story. But to get the best out of it, you'll have to turn out your lights. So, let's turn them out. This story begins with a simple walk in the woods. Two teenagers, best friends. They'd been doing things together for years, ever since their families met. They've been growing up together, inseparable, and this was no different. They'd been wanting to explore these woods for a long time. They had heard stories about these woods. Stories of sounds, like somebody walking over broken limbs, the limbs crackling under the footsteps. They'd also heard stories of people going into those woods and never returning. They wanted to see for themselves. Would they be able to come back with even more of a story than what they'd heard? They tried to do research on the place, find out what just happened there. What was the gig? They found nothing. Nothing at all that gave them a clue as to what. So they ran on their way. With the both of them, they had 2 backpacks full of water, a map of the local place, and hopefully the writs around them. They didn't think that they would be there long, so they didn't bring anything to eat. Once they got into the woods, they thought there wasn't anything to it. They had brought a miniature camcorder with them. They was going to see what they could capture. So immediately they turned on the camcorder and they started scanning around. They started looking, seeing if they could spot anything with their recorder, hoping to be able to catch any kind of sound. They spoke very little along the way. Finally, after a little while, one spoke up. "There's nothing here. This place isn't scary." The other one looked around. Yeah, there's nothing here. So they decided to head back out. So they turned around and they started back the way they went in. Only they never found the entryway to the trail. So they pulled the map out. It appeared that the entryway was right there. That all they had to take was just a few more feet and they would be out. So they went on ahead. But even after a couple feet, there was still no sign of the entryway. They looked at the map again. They started to worry, but they knew that they hadn't gotten off the beaten path. So what was wrong? They should be heading right out. So they continued, hoping that maybe, just maybe, they were wrong about the map. But still, no entryway. They decided to go on ahead and rewind the camcorder and watch from the beginning. And they had noticed that once the trail became more enclosed with trees, it all looked alike. But still, what they saw on the camcorder, they did not get off the trail. So they tried once more to go back out. Still, no entryway, no exit, no sign of the parking lot, no sign of their car, nothing. So they turned back around and thought, all right, we'll just go back the other way. They turned around and went on the way that they had originally headed when they first started in. They saw their footprints heading in the direction that they had started, and they saw where they turned around. So they decided to follow their footprints. So they turned back around and followed them going out. But the footsteps kept going and going and going. They looked at each other. They were frightened. How is it possible, they wondered, that there was no way for them to get out of there when they didn't take any side paths? They followed the map and they watched the camcorder for signs, and they still couldn't find where to leave and get back to their car. So they ran on ahead back on that path, and they found a log and they sat down. They didn't know what to do. They looked at their cell phones. It showed that there was a little bit of reception, but not very much. So they tried it. And all they got was crackling dead air. No busy signal. No hello, hello, I hear you. What's wrong? Just a crackling dead air. They felt surely they were doomed. And then they heard it. What sounded like footsteps coming through the woods, stepping on broken branches, the familiar crackle of feet on leaves and branches, kicking rocks, almost like the feet was dragging. They turned to look and saw nobody, but they continued to hear the sound. When they turned again, they screamed. And then the camcorder dropped. And it was running. And it captured what happened next. But nobody was there to rewind it and replay it. Those friends were never found again. The families went searching for them. Never found their car. Never found the place that they supposedly had rent. It was like it never existed. What do you all think happened?